welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay and this is Life.W.Lindsay. Today we have a WIP Chat. We are working on Alice in the Sea of Tears from Diamond Art Club by Simona Candini. Before we get into that, a few boring housekeeping tips. I do have a fan running. It's kind of sort of to my left. My tiny human is very much awake, so you'll hear her babbling in the background. And my husband is doing husband stuff, so you'll definitely hear husband noises. Say hi, husband.
Hello.
I should probably have a husband count. How many times can I say the word husband? Husband, husband, husband. Just kidding. Anyway, so I will be working on this. If you don't know what a WIP Chat is, that means that I am working on my current WIP, W-I-P, which is a work in progress. And you can work alongside me with a craft project, whatever you're working on at home, driving, working, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to pull that out. And if you guys hear a beeper, a beep, 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 that is my timer. Now, I will say, if you guys are subscribed to my husband's channel, which if you're not, you should be, he recorded a WIP Chat yesterday, so I was not in the room when he recorded it. I was fighting off what I'm pretty sure is an ear infection. So, you may hear a lot of duplicate things, but you'll hear it from different perspectives. So, yeah. Anyway, I am filming this on Monday. Usually, I film my WIP Chats on Sunday, and not because I'm trying to work on any kind of schedule, but typically that's the easiest way to recap the week is be like, okay, the end of the week, let's talk about what happened in the week, and then let's start a new week. But it didn't happen that way this week. Like I said, I feel like I've been fighting off an ear infection, which I have not had an ear infection since... Well, I think since I was a kid. I might be wrong. I used to get swimmer's ear, which is not the same thing. You ever sit down to diamond paint and then you realize you probably should have loaded wax in your pen? So if you see me scrambling trying to get a drill, that's what's happening there. But I'm going to go over this past week, basically what's been going on since I saw you guys last, or since you saw me last, or since I put this up. I don't know. I'm losing my mind. So... Tuesday, we took our kiddo ice skating as we do every week. And it was a breakthrough moment. This kid was skating forwards, skating backwards, starting to squat and to twirl, to lift her leg. I was like, who is this kid? The week before, this kid didn't even want to stand up on two skates. She literally sat at the end of the rink, like down where like the goals are. They don't have the equipment out, but just for perspective. And she literally rolled around on the ice singing Bo Be Mine at the top of her lungs, which if you don't know what Bo Be Mine is, it's a song that Minnie Mouse sings. And also that Briar sings apparently. And it was like, kid, what are you doing? And she just rolled around. Like a chick in an 80s music video. Like Tawny Katane, I'm totally aging myself, on the car in the White Snake video. That's the White Snake, right? Or is that Warrant? Tawny Katane. Anyway, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, that means you were probably born in the 90s or beyond. Anyway, so she had a really, really good day ice skating, and my memories of last week are getting hazy, and it's probably because we've had the most roller coaster week ever. So we had that, and then Wednesday we had in-person speech therapy, and this was our last one before they went on school break. And if you guys are curious, my kiddo is on a modified summer break. Basically what that means that instead of like the older, like the K-12 kids, they are not off from now until August, September. They are off for 3 weeks. And that's because you can't leave a bunch of 3-year-olds to like their own devices. You can't go, okay, well, you've had physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. Now you have no therapies for 2.5 months. It's just too much for young kids. I mean, if you've ever been around a child, like I swear, a summer vacation hits and everything that they've learned for the past however many months in school, like they totally forget it. Like if you ever gone back to school and you're like, I don't remember any of this shit. Yeah, so that's basically why they do that. But the thing that sucks is that we probably won't hear back before the teachers come back whether we got into the preschool program or not. And if you guys have been here long enough, you've heard me talk about that we applied for this full day preschool program, and it's need-based. And because my daughter has an IEP that gives her a couple added points, if you will, it's really sick when you think about that. They literally score your kid on like a point system, and the kids with the most points are the ones that get in. I mean, yes, we all know that that's what happens when it's something that's based, whether it's income based or need based or to fill a quota. But you don't want to think about your child as like a number and a score, because that's exactly what it is. And I didn't come up with that. They told us, oh, well, she'll earn X amount of points for this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And if she was going to preschool and she didn't have an IEP, this would be no big deal, because then she would just start school. But for her to start in the preschool, they have to completely change every aspect of her IEP, because now we'll no longer be having speech with the same speech teacher. We'll no longer be having any in-office visits. Everything would be in the school. So they have to rewrite it all there. Now, thankfully, our head teacher, she's fantastic, and she can rewrite an IEP and get the changes made really quickly. But she told me, like, they used to let the IU know before the families so that they could start working on the paperwork. She said now the families find out first, and she's like, you know, we're lucky if they let us know right away. I'm like, the day that we get a call, yes or no, is the day that my teachers will know whether we got in or not, because I need them to be in the loop. I need them to be on our team to help us as much as possible. So, I know our head teacher is on family vacation, which is fantastic for her and her family. And I think our speech teacher also took a bit of a family vacation, and you know, it's great that they can. You know, there's nothing that's going on in our lives right now that we would have to have access to them. And with technology, I can just shoot them an email or a voicemail or something like that to let them know, hey, we're struggling with this. Could you give me some tips or tricks or whatever it may be? So, last week we had speech in person, like I said, and they made this cute little construction paper tie for my husband. And she said, oh, she got to decorate it. And I was really intrigued to see what she was going to decorate it with. She did a pretty good job. There's a baseball bat on it. My husband loves baseball. If you ask Briar, she'll tell you she loves baseball, but I think she just likes that the TV's on. But we'll find out, because we do plan on attempting to take her to a baseball game later this summer. The only thing that sucks is that the next home game, which it would be Baltimore, the next home game that is a day game isn't until August. So that's like a really long time away to plan and figure things out. Because most games, if you guys aren't familiar with Major League Baseball, most games are 7:05 games. Sometimes you get a 5 o'clock. Every once in a while you'll get, they usually refer to them as like the businessman special. It's like the 11 a.m. or the 1 p.m. games. And those are typically on the weekend. Sometimes you'll get them during the week, but that's more so with minor league than major league. If I'm speaking anything that is totally wrong, just let me know, babe, about baseball. Okay. My husband is definitely the baseball enthusiast in this house. And I've learned a lot from him. So if I'm wrong, you can send your complaints his way. But anyway, so we ended up having our in-person speech, and then our head teacher let us know they've now been approved for in-home visits. So what does that mean for us? That means that we can either meet at a neutral location or they can come inside of our home or outside of our home if we prefer to do our sessions now. Great, cool. So we decided to meet at the playground. Now listen, I'm well aware that playground equipment is very age specific, but there's nothing that anyone can do to, you know, monitor that. So usually playgrounds from our experience have at least 2 different sectors. And these are the bigger playgrounds. Like we have a really tiny little playground down the street from us. And I think that none of the equipment is meant for bigger kids. I think it's all meant for little kids. But the one near us that we like, because it's enclosed, fun fact, is one that has like a toddler friendly structure. And then one section of it has all the slides and other things. So I don't know what it is. My husband pulled me aside and he laughed. And of course, in the moment, I was like, what the F? But then I realized he wasn't picking on me. He was just kind of stating the obvious. But he was like, way to clear out the whole playground. And I was like, what? And then I realized I totally cleared out the whole playground. Now, let me preface it by saying it was not intentional. Okay, we actually went on Wednesday after her speech session, and that was the first time we have been to a public playground. I think we went once over the winter on a day that wasn't super cold. We just needed to get her out of the house, and there was nobody there, and we only let her on like 2 things, and I wiped it down before she went on them. Anyway, so we got to the playground, and there's this tube slide. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, they're the ones that, they're like tubes or tunnels or like enclosed. You go in the top and then you come out the bottom, but everything else is closed. Kind of like a water slide tube, but without the water. So, she's there and she got really excited. She really wanted to do it. We're like, go for it, girlfriend, have fun. And there were, I think 4 or 5 bigger kids just sitting on top of the slide. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I swear every time we're at a playground, there's a kid on top of that. It doesn't have to be that playground. I don't understand what the appeal is, but I could see my daughter was starting to like eyeball the big kids, and the big kids were being obnoxious. The one kid's like, well, I'm 7.5, so I can do whatever I want. And I wanted to be like, that's not how this works, kid. Like, I wanted to be like, do you want me to tell you I'm 38.5? I can do whatever I want because I'm bigger than you? That's also not how this works. But, so she kept going in, and then I pulled her aside, and I thought I said it quietly, but apparently I did not. I let her know, see what these big kids are doing? Absolutely under no circumstance are you to try to do that. I said, that is dangerous, that is unsafe, and I don't want you trying to imitate them. Well, next thing I know, this woman pulled her kid aside and was a little upset with him for being on top of the thing. You're influencing the little kids, and this is not safe, and blah, blah, blah. We're going to go. And then I turned around a few minutes later, somebody else yelled at their kid, and they're like, get down from there. And Brian's like, way to make parents parent their own kids. Now, listen, I didn't tell anyone that you need to pay better attention to your kid, or you need to not allow your child to behave the way they're behaving. What I did say was, my kid, you cannot emulate that. Just because someone else is doing it does not mean it's okay. If you took that personally, that's on you. So I take her and we're playing, and I go over to this little section. She calls it the house. It's kind of like a house-like structure. Oh, hopefully that didn't screw anything up. But I always see kids in there. Our playground has like mulch chips, and they're always using the mulch chips to like serve each other food, quote unquote, like pretend food. They'll just make a mess in it. And she's like, I want to go play in the house. I'm like, okay. So there's this kid, one of the tube kids, and he literally like barrel rolls in front of her and jumps into the front of the house. Now, mind you, this house probably holds 2 toddlers, or a toddler and an infant. comfortably. It's not meant for a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. You know, it's not meant for big kids. But you could see the look on her face. She was so upset and so distraught. And I said, it's okay, Briar, you can go in there. And, like, instead of this kid being like, oh, yeah, you can come play, he basically spread out as much as humanly possible to take up as much room so that she couldn't come in. And I was like, well, that's rude. It's a little shit. Like, it's very frowned upon to discipline someone else's child. It's even more frowned upon to think about punching someone else's child, which I'm not saying I did, but that would be wrong. But I had some choice words in my head for this kid. So then she wanted to go over to, I want to call them like seesaw toys. I don't really know what you call them. She goes, I want to go on the butterfly. And I said, okay, now listen, I'm not saying any of these things because I think my child is entitled to go on equipment and this kid isn't. But what I'm saying is, if you see a child who is significantly younger than you, vocalizing that this is the piece of equipment that they want to go play on, and they start walking in that direction, it's rude if you take it from them. It's rude if you don't allow them to participate. Now, I'm not saying if there were a bunch of 16-year-olds playing in that little house that I'd be like, go on, go play with them. But this is still like a school-age kid. This kid jumped on the butterfly and started laughing maniacally. And I could just see how upset she was and like thinking she did something wrong and that's why she can't play with it. Finally, after the third piece of equipment that he jumped on in front of my daughter, his father got up and said something to him, and the next thing I know, they were gone. So, in the span of 10 minutes, we were the only people left on the playground. And my kid's a tough kid, but she's one of those kids that she is very slow to warm, and you can tell when she feels anxious and overwhelmed, and she even said to me, like with tears in her eyes, she said, Mommy, can we just look at the pool? Okay. If you want to go look at the people swimming in the pool, sweetheart, we can. And it's because she was sad. And I was sad for her because she just wanted to play on the playground. And that kid was being a little shit. And I hope that I never encounter him again. Because if I do, let me tell you, I'm going to say something to his dad and be like, look, dude, it's not my place to tell you how to watch your kid or how to discipline your kid or how to teach your kid. But could your child, I don't know, at least share the equipment with the smaller kids? Like, she was over in the little kids section too. She wasn't even in the section where the big kids play. That's what really bothered me. But anyway, so we had that and then had a complete meltdown trying to leave the playground. Like, terrible. Which if you've ever dealt with a sensory kiddo, deep compression often works wonders for them. So I ended up kind of scooping her into my arms against her wishes, and I just held on really tightly, and all of a sudden you could just feel like somebody pulled the string from her and everything just loosened up and her whole body just gave way, and she's like, "I okay?" And I'm like, "Here we go." So the next day, we kind of did that as a little bit of a reward because she had a really good day at speech, but also because the next day we were coming there for therapy and we didn't want her to be overwhelmed. We didn't want her to be like, this is something new and just not pay attention to her teacher. So we went Thursday with her teacher. She did a really good job. And like our teacher was laughing. She's like, usually when I come to the playground with my husband, I make him go through all of the equipment. But because she was the teacher, she was going through all of it with Briar, and it made me giggle because I was like, better you than me. Like, I'm not fitting in that equipment. But they had a really nice time, and that was great. So Friday we didn't have any therapy, right? Yeah. So the plans for Father's Day weekend was we were going to see his father on Saturday. And then we were going to drive down to see my parents on Sunday. Excuse me. My brother and my parents were going to be at my parents' house. And, you know, we originally had just planned to hang out here, just the three of us. But I was like, all right, let me talk to my family. And if we can make it work, we can make it work. Now, the best thing is, originally my mom had mentioned that we were going to grill, and I was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Grilled, like are you guys team hamburger or hot dog? Or grilled chicken? Or if you are none of those things, let me know down below. 110% without a shadow of a doubt, I am team grilled hot dog. Perfect hot dog for me, almost burnt, melted cheese, raw sliced onions, chopped onions. In a potato roll, if I have my preference. My husband makes the best turkey burgers, which I've talked about on the channel before. And then, I think he's team any grilled food. But we knew Briar would eat if we grilled out. So, next thing I know, my mom's like, I think we're going to order from that restaurant that we ordered at last time. Because I had ordered my daughter some challah French toast, which if you have never had challah French toast, let me tell you, challah is the best base for French toast. Period. So, I was like, all right, well, long story short, we didn't make it to either father's for Father's Day because Saturday, Briar woke up full of snot, nose running, started getting a little bit of a cough, a little bit wheezy. I was like, are you kidding me? Because if you've been following along, you would know that Tuesday is when we have our endoscopy scheduled. Now, for those who don't know, if you're new here, you just never happen to hear the story, my daughter, they suspect our daughter has EOE, which is eosinophilic esophagitis. And I'm going to tell you, if you're curious about it, just Google what is EOE. It'll explain it in much better terms than I'll be able to explain it to you here. But in a nutshell, it's basically when somebody has an allergic reaction to eosinophils that are triggered by food inside their esophagus. So it's not the same thing as a food allergy that gives you anaphylactic shock or food allergy that gives you rashes and things like that. It's also my understanding, and I could be wrong on this, that these do not come up positive on blood tests. So if you do a food panel, for example, that's not going to show you that your child is allergic to the food because they're not allergic to the food. They're just food triggers for the eosinophils. So that's super boring stuff. But if you know anything about surgery, which we've all seen an episode of Grey's Anatomy or The Good Doctor or literally any hospital show, don't you dare say it. He wants me to say House. Which, fun fact, he made a Dr. House pop. Anyway, so you can't have surgery if you're sick. Yep, uh-oh, as my child just said. So, of course, she got sick on a Saturday, which means no doctor is going to answer the phone. So I called and left a message on Saturday. I called and left a message on Sunday. I called her pediatrician's office. This morning I called the hospital. I could not get a hold of a single human being that could help me. Now, her pediatrician's office, I did get a hold of them, but they're not affiliated with the hospital that she's having her surgery at. So they were basically like, well, just keep doing what you're doing and hopefully it'll flush out of her system. And I was like, cool, thanks. Thanks. So we were hoping Sunday she'd be better. She was not. We were hoping Monday, which is today, that she'd be better. She was not. So I finally get through to her GI's office. And I'm like, look, for future reference, like, I just need to know, is this going to be something that if my kid gets, if this happens again, am I screwed? You know, I don't want to be rude, but her old GI doctor, which is actually the same GI doctor, he was just out of a different office, they had GIs on call. So if you had questions, concerns, whatever, they basically had a GI nurses line. And they explained to me this is something that has been addressed numerous times. They're a newer office and they haven't figured out the logistics because it's a specialties office. It's not just a GI. So there's pediatric, all sorts of things based out of this office. So they'd need to have a different nurse or doctor for every subspecialty on call. And they haven't figured out how to do that. And I'm like, Well, then couldn't you just patch it through to the GI doctor on call at the hospital if it's affiliated with the hospital? You know, I don't work for them, so I can't tell them what to do, but I can tell them as a parent, I shouldn't have to leave numerous messages and call the hospital to just talk to somebody because... So, okay, this is super boring stuff, and I promise I'll move through it quickly, but it is something that, you know, does affect our day-to-day with our child. So, last year, our doctor was affiliated with another hospital. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess depends on how you look at it, they shut down the entire office. So every doctor that was based out of that office lost their job. I'm sure some of them were given the opportunity to work at the main hospital, but our doctor left and we followed him. So last year, last July actually, was when we really started talking seriously about having this upper endoscopy done for our daughter. But he wanted to give it some time before we put it on the books. And actually, I think it was earlier than that. I think the follow-up was in July. Either way, he didn't want to do it during the winter. He didn't want to unnecessarily potentially expose our daughter to COVID or flu or RSV or anything like that. You know, that's also one of the reasons why they don't do procedures on sick people. They don't want you bringing things into the hospital. But if you're in a hospital setting, no matter where you are, there's still a potential that you're going to cross paths with germs, you know? So for us, we didn't have it done over the winter because of all that. And then he moved to a different hospital in a different city in all of that, and we had to wait to get into him. We saw him in May, and he put us on the schedule, and that would have been tomorrow morning. Now, listen, even if they were like, well, she sounds like she's doing better now, if you put a tube down somebody's throat, and that's the only way they can breathe because their nose is stuffed up, they're not going to be able to breathe. So they don't do surgeries and procedures when kids are backed up like that. So I finally get a hold of this one nurse, and she's telling me, like, let's see if we can reschedule. Let's put her on the books. And so our GI doctor is like, okay, we'll put her on for the 13th. And the nurse is like, you don't have any, there's no openings on the 13th. He's like, don't worry about it. Just put her on the schedule. Well, I'm glad that they listened because he was able to get a spot for her. Let me take a quick water break. Still with this cup, you guys. Although I have these straws, focus, which I think they're called rain straws. And they totally peel apart into two pieces, so you can get a good brush in there to clean them. And because they are washable, they're more sustainable than, you know, paper or disposable plastic. I guess not paper, but anyway, so they called us and they said, look, we're going to put you on tentatively for the 13th. They had a spot available the week before, but it was an afternoon spot. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever had to deal with fasting, but I don't want to deal with my kid being awake for that many hours and her being able to express that she wants something to eat and the ability for her to go get it, for me to just tell her over and over and over again, no, you can't have that, and her not understand why, because her whole life it's been like, you want to eat? Let's eat. What do you want to eat? Let me get it for you. Do you want me to open it? Do you want something else to eat? Do you want a third thing to eat? How many things do you want to eat? Eat. Because she's underweight. And, so yeah, so they were able to get us in, which I'm very thankful because, like I said, we've been waiting for like a year for this, and it is just so incredibly frustrating when you are dealing with, it doesn't even have to be doctors, but when you're dealing with a situation that doesn't have after hours, And I mean, I guess what other kind of business would you really need to get a hold of somebody after hours? It's like emergency situation. But we thought it'd be nice to talk to the doctors and to let them know what was going on so that it wasn't like a total blind sight. Because not only that, if they take her out of the schedule, that means somebody else who's been waiting for a spot can get in sooner. Which, if you are dealing with anything medical and you have a procedure, a test, an appointment, whatever, you can always tell them you want to be put on a cancellation list if you have a flexible schedule. And if somebody calls like day of to cancel their appointment, that spot now opens up and they will call the first person on the cancellation list, because usually the people who want to be on the cancellation list are people who are trying to get in sooner than they were. Excuse me. So because Briar was sick, we didn't get to go see Grandpa, and we didn't get to go see Mimi and Zeta, and we didn't do anything particularly special here because, well, she was sick, and I think in her mind, she feels like she's not allowed to be sick, which is one of the reasons why we have a lot of trouble when, like, her old GI doctor, like the second guy we went to, he's like, well, stop feeding her things that irritate her. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. I hadn't thought of that before. But at that point, I had a child who was extremely speech delayed, who could not communicate to me. Well, now at 3.5, as her speech has increased, which, can we just talk about the fact that my daughter had like a little mini assessment and they put her at over 95% comprehension, which is amazing. Like, they can comprehend her, which is up from the 30-something she was at when she started in November. Anyway, proud mama moment, but I'm not going to sit here and brag about it. But she, like, even now, while she's sick, we said to her, Briar, does your throat hurt? No. Okay. Does anything hurt? No. Like, she gets really defensive. And we've told her, baby girl, if you don't feel well, it's okay. You're not in trouble. I think in her mind, for some reason, and I don't know why, she feels like she can't tell us that something is bothering her. So why would a kid who responds like that ever tell us that whatever food we gave to her made her belly hurt or made her throat hurt? I also don't think she fully understands, because we are pretty sure that tomatoes irritate her because she gets major skin irritation, like contact irritation, when she eats tomatoes. But she loves them. And it's also one of those things, like, do you take away a food from a child that you know they'll eat? Like, she'll always eat a tomato if you give it to her. I don't, that's a rhetorical question. I don't have the answer for it. But, yeah, so yesterday and the day before, we ended up watching some movies, because what else do you do when your kid is sick and mopey? And you know how I know that my kid is actually sick? For 2 days in a row, she took long naps. Long naps. Like, we had to wake her up from her nap. We have done steam baths. We have taken an actual bath. I can't find her nose, Frida, which, if you guys have a kid and you're like, those are gross, I would never be able to do that. Let me tell you. They're amazing. Gross, yes, but amazing. They will suck all the snot out of your kid. All of it. All of it. And, she's just at that lovely stage of like, I don't want you to touch my face with a tissue or a wipe. But every time I do it by myself, I just wipe boogers all over my face. And it's like, thanks, kid. So today, or yesterday, we watched Luca on Disney Plus, which I thought was super, super sweet. And we watched one of the many Winnie the Pooh movies. And then, did we watch a movie the day before?
We watched Luca on Saturday.
Oh, we watched them separate days. Okay. So we did that, and then she's newly discovered, like, puppy dog pals exist. And so we let her watch a couple episodes of that. was so not our norm. But the way I know my child is feeling better is she just becomes like such a little butthole. And she just wants to take advantage. And like when she's sick, and I know somebody's gonna be like, well, you can't let her do that. When she's sick, you give into it because you're like, I just want to do anything to make my child feel better. But like today or last night at dinner, she's like, I want this. And she would take something off my plate and then be like, I don't want it, and not eat it. And I'm like, okay, I would go to take it back. No, but I want it. I'm like, she just wanted to be a bully. So today, she coughed, and I have had this conversation with her 1,001 times. Briar, when you cough or you sneeze, please cover your mouth. It's really gross when you sneeze on people. And she's like, okay. And then we'll sneeze on you. And the other day, she sneezed on me, like, full snot. And I was like, kid. So today, after I told her again, Briar, please cover your mouth when you sneeze or when you cough. This kid had the audacity to push my hand away, because I just pushed my hand up in front, like, as a barrier between the two of us. She had the audacity to push my hand down and then intentionally cough in my face. I was like, kid, you are, every last fiber of my being wanted to, like, run away and be like, I'm done. I can't handle this, kid. Like, you were destroying mommy. From the inside out, you were destroying mommy. But I didn't say that to her. But, oh my God, kid, like, that's disgusting, first of all. But this is, like, the level of defiance that we deal with. And I know it's common for the age, and it's just obnoxious. Like, ugh. Like, that's the kind of thing, if she did that to, like, some random adult, like, they would flip shit on her.
And I'd expect them to.
Yeah. So, anyway, I know my body has needed the rest. Like, I literally crashed for 2 days. I don't know if I picked up something as well, and that's why I'm pretty sure I had an ear infection. For like 3 days, my ears just hurt really, really, really bad. And then it would just get to like discomfort, but every time I would lay down to try to rest, it was like the negative pressure. So if I was resting on my right ear, all of a sudden, like, I could feel like the pain in my left ear. And then I would flip to the other side, and then it would shift ears. It was driving me insane. And if you guys are actually watching this WIP Chat and not just listening and wondering, I usually use a piece of like release paper or parchment paper to just place on my canvas so that I can put my drill tray down. We need to invent something that can go on the bottom of drill trays so that you can place it down and it peels right back up. Have I tried gluing parchment paper to the bottom of my containers before? Yup. Did it work out? Nope. And if anybody does invent that, please make sure to give me some partial credit. Thank you. But anyway, so that's how, like, things have been going here. I didn't even tell my husband this yet, but we've been talking back and forth. I have a good friend from college. She is significantly younger than me, but she used to be here all the time when my husband was working in retail, and she would give me a hand, keep the baby occupied while I would make dinner. And we've been talking about it recently. Like, we definitely need a good night out without the baby. But I'm not ready to go do like social activities yet, but I will eat at a restaurant. You know what I mean? So,
Eat at a
restaurant. Ooh, I hope I don't get a copyright strike for that.
crap.
Some kid song, if you guys are wondering what the hell we're.
Well, don't help them.
Shoot. I mean, you didn't hear anything. That was just a mirage in your ears. Anyway, so we had discussed, like, our parents are older. That's not a new statement.
They're aware of it too.
Yes. And, you know, like my parents have told us numerous times, like, you guys, you can absolutely, we'll take care of her, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I don't really want to drive an hour and a half to go take my husband out on a date, or have my husband take me on a date, or just mutually date each other and then drive an hour and a half home. Like, that's not really enjoyable. And at that point, I'd have to do like a lunchtime date so that we wouldn't be driving home at 11 o'clock at night. So anyway, my friend Kayla, shout out to you, Kayla. We had mentioned to each other recently, like, maybe Kayla could keep an eye on her for like an hour or two while we go get some lunch. Or dinner, or whatever time of day it is. I'd have to work out the logistics with her. This is the Pretty Placers Gem in the Coconut Calypso. This thing smells amazing. Look at those cute little stars, too. In case anyone's curious. And I've had a few people ask me. I feel like it's similar to the texture of like a patty wax brick, but it's softer. And I don't think it leaves as much residue. I also don't think it steals your drills the same way. For me, you saw I scooped it in, wiped off the extra, and then I'll just lightly pick up the first couple drills so that it gets used to it and gets dirtied up a little bit. And then I can use it as normal. Anyway, and I have been enjoying it for those who are curious. But anyway, so we thought, like Brian's mom, for example, would love to watch the baby, but she's not physically able to catch her. And she can hang out with her for a short period of time, but I don't think we could leave her alone with her for 2-3 hours to go do something, unless those hours were she's in her room napping. So I did reach out to Kayla and I said, would you have any interest in babysitting? And she said, absolutely. So we have a go on that. When will it happen? I have no idea. She has a real like life and job and things like that.
Your next message should have been see you in 20 minutes.
She's already waiting outside. She's, but she's funny. She's one of those people that her and I, like, we had psychology classes together. We had quite a few classes together, but we had psychology together. And I remember her being like, I don't understand how anybody could do X, Y, and Z in terms of parenting. And I was like, girl, wait till you have a kid. Because prior to having a kid, I couldn't understand how parents could react to a child. They're so innocent. It's like, okay, well, now I've had a child and I understand how grating a child can be and how exhausting a child can be and how maddening a child can be. Should I keep going on? So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But I am excited at the idea of us going to eat. I would love to. I mean, obviously my kid's sick right now, so I can't plan anything, which sucks because, like I said, she's on school break. You guys, tell me why this kid hasn't been sick in like a year and a half. And now she gets sick as school break happens. She's set to have surgery, a procedure.
Friend comes into town.
Yeah. All these things that we're supposed to be doing. Now we have to cancel all of it because she got sick. Like, I don't blame her, but it's just the timing sucks, kid. But it's smarter for us to not do these social things when she's not feeling well, because you never know. Anyway, so we were hoping to take her to a local-ish aquarium. We're obviously not going to be able to do that. I was thinking about taking her to a trampoline park. Obviously not going to be able to do that. Slowly get to do more activities to bring her around other kids. Well, that's the worst idea possible when you're sick. Now, I'm going to say this, and I know somebody's going to be like, that's super judgmental of you. Please, please, please. I said this before we were in a pandemic. There is never a reason that you need to take a sick child with you to do your day-to-day errands. And I know somebody's going to go, well, I needed to go to CVS, or I needed to go here. I needed to do this. unless you live in the middle of nowhere, most grocery stores, even local grocery stores and pharmacies now allow curbside pickup. Or if you're at CVS, certain things you can pick up in the drive-thru. There's never a reason to take a sick child into a building, and unless it's like a doctor's office or a hospital. And I know somebody's going to go, well, you're coming from a place of privilege or blah, blah, blah. And I'm aware that I am. I am lucky enough that if my husband was home, he could watch the baby and I go to the store, or vice versa. But I also know what it was like before my husband was home working, and then I still didn't have nearly as many options as I do now, but I absolutely could do a curbside pickup or ask a neighbor, can you drop off a gallon of milk for me? I'll pay you through PayPal, whatever it may be.
Even DoorDash has.
Yeah, well, I know not everybody has DoorDash where they live, but yeah, we now have like convenience stores.
Subscriptions, but you know.
No, but you know, and a lot of CVS's now actually deliver. And if you don't live near a CVS, I'm sure you could contact your local, because I don't see them advertising that. But every time I get an alert that a medication needs to be refilled, they're like, did you know that you can get your meds delivered to you? And I'm like, oh, really? I mean, it's just, my mom used to own a children's clothing store when I was younger. And the amount of people that would go, oh, well, I held my kid home today because they were sick. And my mom's like, this child, the one that's in my store? Yeah. Oh, okay. Then guess who would get sick? My mom. She got head lice because somebody brought their lice-infected child into the store, knowing their kid had head lice, but didn't say anything to my mom until, like, the end of their stay. And, of course, my mom got head lice. And I, if you have never seen what I look like, I am very fair with very light hair. And as a kid, do you guys remember, I don't know if they still do it, but I know when I was a kid, they would always have the lice checks at school, where like they would bring everybody into the school gym and they would set up like stations and be like, okay, this person's here, this person's here, this person's here. And they'll check everybody's head. They go through with the comb and the flashlight and all that. And then if you were cleared, you're good to go. Well, I remember they had to call like a specialist in because I was so light that they were having trouble because lice eggs were the same color as my pale ass skin and hair. And they could not tell, did not have lice, but they couldn't tell. They wanted to make sure. So that was always fun. Damn it. Do you ever put a color away and then realize like, oh, there's still a whole chunk right there? Yeah, whole chunk right there. But anyway, let's stop talking about head lice because I'm sure somebody's like, ooh, it's giving me the heebie-jeebies. But anyway, so we didn't get to do anything. One of Brian's friends is coming into town, or is in town, or will be coming into town. We were supposed to see them. Now we're not going to be able to because of Briar. And I don't even know. It's probably not even smart for my husband to be like, well, I'll just meet you guys out because what if he has whatever my kid has and it just hasn't hit him yet? Like, we don't want to get anyone else sick, especially people who are traveling from out of state. With everything going on with COVID and all that stuff. So it sucks. I obviously want my kid to be better. And she keeps telling us, but I feel okay. I feel good. I feel okay. And I'm like, you might feel okay, kid. But the mountain of snot coming off your face is telling me you are still sick. And my husband I've been trying to convince him since I was pregnant, which this is not like an announcement. I'm talking about like 4 years ago when I was pregnant, that I wanted an inflatable pool. And he's like, you don't need an inflatable pool. You're a grown up. We'll get one when we have a kid. And then we had a kid and it was like, maybe we'll get one next year. Blah, blah, blah. So we ended up getting one this year finally. And we had talked about setting it up today because it's 93 degrees out today. But my husband and I both want to make sure that she's not going to aspirate in the pool. Not that I really think she would, but the worst timing would be if it happened while she's already congested. We would never know that that's what that was. We want to prevent her from getting like additionally sick if humanly possible. So, and she doesn't even know we have a pool, which it's so funny. We just got her this waterproof kids camera, which she keeps calling her crema. And oddly enough, the other night we had some Mexican dish that had a roasted red pepper crema. And we could not for the life of us figure out what she was talking about. And we're like, what? And then we realized that crema in that case didn't mean crema. It actually meant camera. The things you have to decipher. And it's a waterproof camera. It has a case that makes it waterproof. Let's just say that. It's not an actually waterproof camera. But all she wants to do is take it in the water with her. And she said to me today, well, we can take it to the big pool or the little pool. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, the big pool or the little pool, like we just went to when we went camping. And I was like, oh, like she doesn't understand. We're not going camping again. I mean, we will, just not right now. And that did not go over well. And then I was like, Mimi and Zeta, my parents have a hot tub or a jacuzzi or whatever. And every time I talk to them, they're like, why don't you just bring her swim stuff with her and she can go swimming in the pool. And I'm like, it's not a pool, Mom. It's a hot tub. Also, that's a lot more work for me to take her. So I told her, next time we go to Mimi and Zeta's, Mimi can take you in her pool and you can take pictures. And she's like, okay. So I told my mom, I was like, you can take her in your pool. And she's like, all right. So, she can handle all of that. I'll just bring the stuff, be like, here you go, Mom. You can take her. I'm going to sit inside in the air conditioning. I won't, but I don't feel like getting into a swimsuit to just sit in like a hot tub with my parents and my toddler. Like, that's not... I thought that your sigh there was in response to that, and I was like, you think that sounds like a fun time? By the way, the you that I'm speaking about is my husband, who just sighed loudly across the room if you didn't hear it. But he is assembling some boxes. Anyway, so that's been our super up and down eventful week. It's been far more chaotic than we would have liked it to been, and it sucks because my daughter is missing an ice skating lesson for her endoscopy. Well, now she's not going ice skating or having an endoscopy, and her replacement session is Thursday, which I can't foresee that she's going to wake up in the next 48 hours and be okay. So that sucks. But it is what it is. Such is life. C'est la vie. She's got a really raspy voice right now. Like an unnecessarily raspy voice. It's actually really cute, but... You know, when she does that on top of her whine... Good Lord, let me tell you. Kids know it too. They're like, I'm gonna just put on my whiniest voice and it will drive the adults crazy. And all of the adults will simultaneously be like, yes, yes it does. Do you ever get a new tray? Which this is a Munimade tray, by the way. And then you have to get the right angle to make sure you're pouring your drills in properly. Or is that just me? Ooh, just got a little tickle on my leg. You guys, this canvas is unbelievable. If you guys have seen my progress photos, I am working through this at a nice pace. Today is actually the first time in like 3 days I've gotten to sit down and work on it because I've been worn out and tired and not feeling great. And, I'm happy to sit down and work on this today. But it's funny, my husband, he was working on some intro stuff for his videos. And I was like, yo, you look like super professional and fancy. And he's like, I can make an intro for you if you want. I'm like, thanks, babe. I think right now my 5-second intro is sufficient enough, but maybe in the near future I'll have him make me a fancy...
I said I can give you my login.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to make me one. Rude. Did I just pull out a color that really has, like, almost none, and I thought it had a huge amount? Oh, no. Oh, no. There it is. There it is. But I am loving the colors in this canvas. If you guys haven't checked the unboxing for this, I will make sure to link that up in the eye. I wept like a baby. I absolutely love this image, you guys. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is what she looks like. And I am currently working on this section here, the top of the cards, and the base of the teacup, or the handle of the teacup. I love this image. It's one of those things, like, I cannot explain why it gave me the sort of reaction it did. It just evokes something in me, and I absolutely love it. And I am so thankful for Diamond Art Club for releasing Simona Candini's artwork, because had they not, I probably never would have known who she was as an artist. And, like, I am very into her art and her style of art. And what they've released with Diamond Art Club and what they had on their poll a while back. I love this stuff. Excuse me. So, but I see we are nearing the hour mark, so I will ramble for a few more minutes and then I will skedaddle. My hopes is to have this up either later today or tomorrow. But if you guys want to check out the last couple videos that I have posted, I put up a little, I don't want to call it a haul, but a little review and unboxing of Kevin's Kreations. This is a Kevin's Kreations pen. This is the Cheshire Cat themed one. The lighting does no justice, but you can see it's pink, purple, purple, pink in the colors of the devilish cat. And he does a ton of wooden hand-turned pens. And let me tell you, this guy is hella talented. But make sure you check him out. I'll link all of his info down below as well. But he has an Etsy shop. He has a YouTube channel. So if you're interested in, like, seeing the process of how he makes any of the stuff, he has videos on that. And then I put up a video of Sherry Baldy unboxing. I've got, obviously, this WIP Chat will go up. I have a small shop haul that needs to go up. I've got a couple videos. So, lots of fun stuff coming from Life.W.Lindsay. And I think that is all I have for you guys for this one. So, if you guys made it all the way to the end, tell me if you have any fun summer plans, or if you are in the other hemisphere, I guess winter plans. But anyway, I'm going to skedaddle. Thank you guys so much for being here. Before you leave, please make sure to give this video 2 thumbs up. One real life, one virtual. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come, join the Sparkle Squad. And while you're there, make sure you hit that notification bell.
Dang.
I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time. I record while my child is sleeping, or like today, sleeping. I do the best with what I've got, and I hope that it is good enough for you guys. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys!